Imagine spending over $50,000 to make your sister's dreams come true, only to be told 3 days before the big day that you're not allowed to see them happen. I paid for every single flower, the 5-tier artisan cake, the premium open bar, the venue that looks like a literal castle, and even the designer gown she's wearing. But my sister called me and told me I was banned from the wedding because I didn't fit the aesthetic of her dream day. I'm sitting here now in a quiet house, listening to the fallout of my decision, and I have to ask you all, was I wrong for what I did next? Or would you have done the exact same thing in my shoes? Tell me if you would have just swallowed your pride for the sake of family, or if you would have burned the whole thing down like I did. This story starts way back, long before the wedding planning even began, because to understand why I did what I did, you have to understand the dynamic of my family. I'm 32 now, and my sister, Lily, is 26. Our dad passed away about 8 years ago, and since then, I've felt this massive weight on my shoulders to take care of everyone. My dad was a hard worker, a man who built a small construction business from nothing, and when he died, he left me in charge of the company and the family's well-being. I took that responsibility seriously. I worked 80-hour weeks, expanded the business into high-end custom homes, and made sure my mom and Lily never wanted for a single thing. Lily was always the golden child in our mother's eyes. She was beautiful, popular, and had this way of making everyone feel like it was a privilege just to be near her. My mom, bless her heart, completely enabled this. She saw Lily as this delicate flower that needed to be protected from the harsh realities of the world. Meanwhile, I was the workhorse. I was the one with the dirt under my fingernails and the stress lines on my forehead. I didn't mind it for a long time because I loved them. When Lily met Jackson 2 years ago, I was actually happy for her. Jackson comes from what people call old money, though from what I could tell, his parents were just incredibly stingy with it. He was a nice enough guy, a bit soft, but he clearly adored Lily. The problems started when they got engaged. Lily didn't just want a wedding, she wanted a production. She wanted something that would look perfect on her social media, something that would make Jackson's wealthy friends and family see her as an equal. The only problem was that Jackson's parents weren't willing to pay for the spectacle she had in mind. They offered a modest budget that would have covered a lovely, normal wedding, but Lily was devastated. She came to me crying, saying how embarrassing it would be to have a budget wedding in front of Jackson's circle. My mom pulled me aside and did what she always does. She used my dad's memory against me. She told me how much it would have meant to him to see his only daughter have the wedding of her dreams, and how I was the only one who could make that happen. Like a fool, I agreed. I told Lily I would cover the difference. I didn't realize at the time that the difference meant nearly the entire cost of a $50,000 event. For a year, I was basically a walking ATM. Every time a vendor needed a deposit, it was my credit card on file. The venue alone was $20,000. Then there was the catering. Lily insisted on a 5-course meal with lobster and prime rib. Then there were the flowers, which she wanted imported from some specific region in France. I was busy running my business, so I didn't attend many of the planning meetings. I just saw the invoices and paid them. I figured that by being the sole financier, I was showing her how much I cared. But as the date got closer, Lily started acting strange. She became obsessed with the image of the wedding. She started sending out style guides to the guests, telling them what colors they were allowed to wear so they wouldn't clash with the decor. She even suggested that some of our cousins shouldn't come if they couldn't afford appropriate attire. I laughed it off as bridezilla behavior, thinking she was just stressed. Then came the rehearsal dinner invite, or rather, the lack of one. I noticed I wasn't on the email chain for the final walkthrough at the venue. When I asked Lily about it, she was evasive. She told me she was handling it, and that I should just focus on my work so I could afford the final payments. That should have been my first red flag. The real blow came 3 days before the wedding. Lily asked to meet me for coffee. I thought she was going to give me a sentimental thank you card, or maybe a small gift for everything I'd done. Instead, she looked me in the eye and told me that she and Jackson had made a difficult decision. She said that Jackson's family was very concerned about the cohesiveness of the event. She told me that because I'm a rougher person, because I have tattoos on my arms from my younger days, and because I do fit the vibe of the high society life she was marrying into, she didn't want me at the wedding. She actually said, and I quote, You're the one who made this possible, and I'll always be grateful, but your presence would just be a distraction. People will ask questions about where I came from, and I want this day to be about the life I'm building, not the life I'm leaving behind." I was stunned. I asked her if she was serious. I asked her if she was really banning her own brother, the person who paid for every single thing she was about to enjoy from the ceremony. She had the audacity to say that she would send me plenty of photos and that we could have a private dinner, just the two of us, later on to celebrate. My mom, who was also there, just nodded and said, "Lily just wants her day to be perfect, honey. You understand, don't you? You've always been the strong one." I left that coffee shop in a daze. I wasn't even angry at first. I was just cold. I realized that to them, I wasn't a brother or a son. I was just a source of revenue. So that's the situation I was in, and I had to make a choice. I was standing in the parking lot with my heart pounding, looking at the banking app on my phone, realizing that the final balances for the venue, the caterer, and the florist were all scheduled to be charged to my business account the next morning. Before I tell you what I did, I want you to pause right now and comment below. What would you have done in my shoes? Would you have let her have her perfect day and just walked away? Or would you have made sure she understood exactly what happens when you bite the hand that feeds you? I went back to my office and sat in the dark for a long time. I thought about my dad. I thought about how he would have reacted to seeing his son treated like trash. And then I started making phone calls. Since I was the one who signed every single contract, I was the legal client for every vendor. I called the venue manager first. I told her that due to unforeseen circumstances, the event was canceled. She was shocked and reminded me that I wouldn't get my deposit back. I told her I didn't care. I told her to lock the gates on Saturday and not to let a soul inside. Next, I called the caterer. I told them the same thing. Then the florist. Then the band. I canceled everything. Because it was so last minute, I lost about $30,000 in non-refundable deposits, but I saved the remaining $20,000 that was due to be charged the next day. I also called the boutique where Lily's dress was being held for final steaming. Since I had paid for it in full, I told them I would be coming by to pick it up myself. I drove there, picked up that massive white gown, and took it home. I didn't burn it. I'm not that dramatic. But I did take it to a consignment shop that specializes in high-end bridal wear and sold it on the spot for a fraction of the price, telling them to donate the proceeds to a local charity for foster kids. I felt a strange sense of peace as I drove home. I turned off my phone and went asleep. The next morning, the storm broke. I woke up to over 50 missed calls and a string of texts that would make a sailor blush. Lily had found out because the florist had called her to express their condolences about the tragedy that caused the cancellation. By the time I turned my phone back on, my mom was at my front door, pounding so hard I thought she'd break the wood. I opened the door and she lost it. She called me a monster, a sociopath, and a failure of a brother. She screamed that I had ruined Lily's life and that Jackson's family would never forgive the embarrassment. A few minutes later, Lily pulled up in her car looking like a ghost. She didn't even have the energy to scream. She just kept asking, "Why? How could you do this to me?" I looked her dead in the eye and said, "You told me you wanted your day to be about the life you're building, not the life you're leaving behind. Well, the life you're leaving behind is the one that pays the bills. If I'm too rough to be at the party, then my money is too rough to pay for it. You wanted a high society wedding. You should have asked your high society fiancé to pay for it." Jackson tried to call me too, acting all indignant, saying I was legally obligated to fulfill the contracts. I told him that since he was such a man of means, he should have no problem putting his own card down to rebook everything at the last minute. Of course, he couldn't. The venue was already gone, the vendors had already taken other last-minute bookings or sent their staff home, and the wedding was effectively dead. The day of what was supposed to be the wedding, Lily and Jackson ended up getting married at a local courthouse. There were no imported French flowers, no five-tier cake, and definitely no aesthetic castle. Only their parents were there. Jackson's family was apparently mortified by the whole scandal and has since distanced themselves from Lily, which I find incredibly ironic. My mom hasn't spoken to me in 3 months. She told the rest of the family that I'm a bitter, jealous man who couldn't stand to see his sister happy. Some of my relatives agree with her, saying I should have just taken the high road for the sake of the family name. But honestly, I've never felt lighter. I realized that for years, I was buying their love, and the moment I stopped paying, the love disappeared. It's a hard pill to swallow, but I'd rather be alone and respected than surrounded by people who only value me for my checkbook. I've started using the money I save to renovate my own house, the way I want it. I'm moving on, and while it hurts to lose my sister and my mom, I finally understand that family isn't about blood. It's about who stands by you when the cameras aren't rolling. Looking back, I don't regret a single phone call I made that day. If you treat someone like they don't matter, don't be surprised when they decide to stop making your life easy. At the end of the day, you have to stand up for yourself, even if it means standing alone. I think the moral of the story is that you can't buy respect, but you can certainly stop financing disrespect. If someone tells you that you aren't good enough to be at their table, you have every right to take your table and go home. Like this video if you think I was right to cancel everything and stand my ground. Subscribe for more stories like this where people finally get what's coming to them. Share your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section. Did I go too far, or did she get exactly what she deserved? I'll be reading your responses. I'll see you all in the next story. Gemini can make mistakes, so double check it.